Hello to Chapter 0. When you listen to the novel in less than 20 minutes. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry, 1985. Comprehensive summary. Setting and opening situation. The novel opens in the late 1870s in Lonesome Dove, a decaying, sun-bleached town on the Texas bank of the Rio Grande. The border is lawless and emptying out. The Comanche have been pushed back, the buffalo are nearly gone, and the great Texas cattle ranches are fencing the open range. The Hat Creek Cattle Company and Livery Emporium is a failing business run by two retired Texas Rangers in their 50s, Captain Augustus Gus McCrae and Captain Woodrow F. Call. They are legends from the old Ranger days when they rode against Comanches, bandits, and the Mexican army. Now they spend most days drinking whiskey, playing cards, and chasing a band of wild pigs that keeps raiding their vegetable patch. The core cast in Lonesome Dove. Woodrow F. Call, tall, silent, iron-willed. He believes in work, order, and duty. He never laughs, rarely speaks unless necessary, and has never acknowledged emotion as valid. He's a genius at logistics and command but emotionally illiterate. Augustus Gus McCrae, fat, lazy, talkative, and bookish. He quotes Shakespeare, loves to argue, drinks constantly, and visits the town's only prostitute, Lorena Wood. He's brave in a fight but avoids work. He's the only man who can tease Call without getting fired. Newt Dobbs, 17 years old, shy, hardworking. Everyone in town knows his Call's son by a prostitute named Maggie who died years ago. Call raised him in the outfit but has never called him son or shown him affection. Newt lives for a word of praise from Call that never comes. Joshua Deets, a black man in his 60s, former Ranger Scout. The best tracker, hunter, and horseman in the outfit. He's quiet, deeply moral, and the only member of the crew without cruelty in him. The others respect him completely. P.I. Parker, a slow, loyal, literal-minded former ranger. He's brave but not bright. He stutters when nervous and follows Call's orders without question. Bolivar, an ancient Mexican cook who fought for Santa Anna. He mostly sleeps and complains. Lorena Wood, called Lori by Gus. She's 16, from Alabama, and was kidnapped and sold into prostitution. She's beautiful, traumatized, and hates Lonesome Dove. She charges men but gives herself to no one emotionally. Gus is the only man who treats her like a person. The status quo breaks when Jake Spoon rides into town. Jake is another ex-ranger, handsome and glib, but fundamentally weak. He's been working as a dentist gambler in Fort Smith, Arkansas. He's fleeing because he accidentally killed a man, a dentist, in a bar fight. The sheriff, July Johnson, is looking for him. Jake describes Montana, empty grassland to the Platte River, no fences, no farmers, and beef prices 10 times higher than in Texas. Call immediately decides to drive a herd to Montana and start a ranch. He's bored and sees it as one last chance to do something significant. Gus thinks it's madness but agrees to go. He has no ties and won't let Call go alone. They don't have cattle or money, so Call's plan is simple: steal them. 2. Assembling the herd and the outfit. Call and Gus lead a night raid into Mexico and steal 2,500 head of cattle from a rich hacendado. They justify it: the Mexicans stole them from Texas first. Call also recruits a Mexican horse herd of 100 head by hanging the horse thieves who were guarding them. This establishes Call's code early: he's not cruel, but he's absolute. They hire a crew for the drive. Dish Boggart, the best young top hand in Texas. He's immediately, hopelessly in love with Lorena. Jasper Fant, Soupy Jones, Needle Nelson, Lippy Jones, regular cowhands, each with quirks. Lippy has no lips from a bar fight. Po Campo, a New Mexican cook, replaces Bolivar. He's cheerful and a good chef. Jake Spoon decides to come along, and Lorena insists on leaving with him. She sees Jake as her escape from prostitution. Jake, who likes her but feels no responsibility, agrees. Gus is worried but says nothing. The Hat Creek outfit now has 12 men, 1 woman, 2,500 cattle, 100 horses, and 2 wagons. They point north in April. 3. The Drive, Texas to the Red River. The first 300 pages of the novel are the drive itself. McMurtry uses it to demolish Western myths. This isn't a glorious adventure. It's mud, thirst, lightning, stampedes, shit, and death from stupid causes. Key events. The Blue Northers, they cross the Nueces and the Frio. Call runs the drive like a military campaign. 18-hour days. No complaining. Gus undermines him by sneaking whiskey and talking. Newt learns to ride and rope, desperate to impress Call. Call notices his skill but says nothing. The first death, Bolivar gets homesick, steals a horse, and tries to ride to Mexico. He's found dead, shot by bandits. No one mourns much. He was old. It sets the tone. Death is random. The pigs' running gag becomes serious. The wild pigs attack PI at night. He kills one with a shovel. It's absurd and terrifying, showing the West is still wild. Jake phrase, Jake is lazy, gambles, and doesn't do his share. He's also sleeping with Lorena, which enrages Dish Boggart. Call warns Jake once. They cross the Red River into Indian territory. This is the point of no return. 4. The Split, the Suggs Gang and Blue Duck. In the Kansas-Nebraska area, the outfit meets down Suggs and his brothers. They're buffalo hunters turned outlaws. Jake, bored and spineless, leaves the herd to ride with them. He doesn't tell Lorena. The Suggs gang robs and murders settlers. They run into Blue Duck, the novel's embodiment of pure evil. Blue Duck is half Comanche, half Mexican, and hates everyone. He was captured by Call and Gus years ago, but he escaped. He now leads a band of renegades. He kidnaps Lorena from the Suggs camp. Jake does nothing to stop it. He's too scared of Blue Duck. Lorena's captivity, Blue Duck and his men rape and beat Lorena for weeks. She's tied on a horse and dragged across Nebraska. McMurtry doesn't flinch from this. It's the novel's most brutal section. Lorena survives by going numb. She decides if she lives, she'll never be helpless again. Jake's end, Call and Gus track the Suggs gang. Call's rule is, you ride with outlaws, you hang with outlaws. They catch Jake, Dan Suggs, and his brothers. Gus argues to let Jake go. He was a ranger once. Call refuses. He knew the rules. They hang all of them from a cottonwood tree. Jake dies crying and begging. Call feels nothing. Gus is sickened. This is the moral center of the book, Call's code versus Gus's mercy. Their friendship never recovers. Deets' death. While scouting, Deets finds a young boy who was captured by Indians. He rescues the boy and tries to return him to settlers. He's ambushed and killed by a band of young Kiowa. He dies alone on the prairie. The outfit is devastated. Call, who never cried, digs Deets' grave himself and doesn't speak for 2 days. Deets was the best of them, and the West killed him for no reason. V. Gus and Clara, the Nebraska interlude. After Deets' death, Gus leaves the herd to find Lorena. He tracks Blue Duck for 80 miles alone. He finds Blue Duck's camp, kills 3 men, and rescues Lorena. She's broken, starved, and can't speak. Gus nurses her back to health in Ocala, Nebraska. They don't become lovers. He becomes her father figure. He gives her dignity. She tells him, "You're the first man that ever treated me decent." While in Nebraska, Gus rides to see Clara Allen. Clara was his great love 20 years ago. She chose to marry Bob Allen, a sober horse trader, instead of Gus because Gus wouldn't quit rangering. She now runs a horse farm with Bob. 2 of her 3 daughters died of diphtheria last winter. She's hard, angry, and grieving. Gus and Clara's reunion is 60 pages of the best dialogue McMurtry ever wrote. They fight, reminisce, and tell each other brutal truths. She still loves him but hates him for leaving. He proposes they go to Montana together. She refuses. "I've got 2 girls in the ground here. I won't leave them." He asks her to marry him if Bob dies. She says maybe. Bob is then kicked to death by a stallion the next day. Clara doesn't marry Gus. She tells him she can't leave Nebraska. He rides away knowing he lost his last chance at a life. Gus returns to the herd with Lorena. She's now strong. She wears a dress, not prostitute clothes. She decides to stay with the outfit until she figures out what to do. 6. The July Johnson plot, futility in motion. Parallel to the cattle drive, McMurtry runs a second plot about July Johnson, the sheriff of Fort Smith. July is 19, naive, and married to Elmira, who is 17 and pregnant. Elmira hates July and Arkansas. She was in love with D. Boot, a buffalo hunter, before she married July. When Jake Spoon killed the dentist was Elmira's lover. Elmira uses it as an excuse to leave. She rides out with D. Boot to find Jake. July, humiliated, leaves his job and follows her with his deputy Roscoe Brown and a half-wit tracker named Joe. This plot is a black comedy and a tragedy. July is incompetent. Roscoe is terrified of everything. Joe is useless. They wander across Kansas and Nebraska, always weeks behind Elmira. Elmira's journey, she's selfish and shallow, but her fate is awful. D. Boot is killed by Indians. She's captured by a band of Comancheros, escapes, and wanders the plains alone, pregnant. She gives birth by herself in a dry riverbed, cuts the cord with a rock, and keeps walking. She finds a riverboat on the Missouri and gets on. She dies of infection 3 days later. The boat captain gives her baby to a whorehouse. July never finds her. He gets to the Missouri, hears she died, and turns around. His entire quest was pointless. This plot mirrors the cattle drive, big journeys that end in dust. 7. Montana, arrival and disintegration. The herd reaches the Yellowstone River in September. They've been on the trail 6 months. They lost 400 cattle, Deets, Jake, and their innocence. Montana is not paradise. It's empty, cold, and already being claimed. Grasshoppers have eaten the grass. Winter is coming. Gus's death, while scouting, Gus and P.I. are ambushed by Indians. P.I. escapes. Gus takes 2 arrows in the leg. He gets back to camp, but gangrene sets in. There's no doctor. His legs rot. He knows he'll die. Gus makes Call promise 2 things. Bury him in Texas, in Clara's orchard in Austin, not in Montana. Give his $3,000 in savings to Lorena so she can buy a boarding house and be safe. Gus dies in Miles City. His last words to Call, "Woodrow, you damn sure didn't make it easy." Then to Newt, "Don't be like him, Newt. It ain't worth it." Call keeps promise 2 immediately and gives Lorena the money. He keeps promise 1, which becomes the final act of the novel. The ranch, Call builds the Hat Creek Ranch in Montana. It's successful. But there's no joy. The crew breaks up. Dish Boggett, broken that Lorena doesn't love him, drifts to Oregon. He'll never see her again. Lorena and P.I. showed courage rescuing Gus. Lorena sees his kind and won't hurt her. She proposes to him. They marry and move to Nebraska to be near Clara. Clara takes them in. Lorena opens a store. She's finally free. P.I. becomes a farmer. It's the only happy ending. 8. Call's return, the long walk back. Call can't let Gus be buried in Montana. He digs up Gus's body, builds a coffin, packs it with salt, loads it on a mule, and starts riding to Texas. Alone. It's 2,000 miles. This section is 100 pages of pure exhaustion. Call fights heat, snow, bandits, and his own age. He's robbed by outlaws. Blue Duck, now a prisoner, is being transported in the same area. He escapes and briefly helps Call fight the outlaws, then rides off. Blue Duck is later recaptured and throws himself out a third-story window in jail rather than be hanged. He dies laughing. Call reaches the Rio Grande in December. Lonesome Dove is a ghost town. The saloon is closed. The pigs are gone. He's so weak he can't make it to Austin and Clara's orchard. He buries Gus in the Lonesome Dove cemetery. He breaks his promise. It destroys him. He rides to the old Hat Creek barn. He finds Newt there, waiting. Call gives Newt a paper making him partner in the Montana ranch. He signs it "Your father" for the first time. But he can't say the words. He rides away before Newt can read it. Newt never knows for sure. Call keeps riding south into Mexico. He has no plan. The last line, he was a man without a place. 9. Themes and analysis. The myth versus reality of the West. The novel systematically debunks John Wayne Westerns. Heroes die stupidly. Indians aren't noble savages or pure evil, they're desperate people. The land doesn't care about your code. Call's competence doesn't save Gus. Courage doesn't save Deets. Men and women, the West is male, but the women endure. Elmira dies because she's foolish. Clara survives because she's hard. Lorena survives because Gus gives her a chance and she takes it. The men are all children playing at war. Work versus love. Call's tragedy is he chose work. He built an empire and had no one to share it with. Gus chose talk and whiskey and women, and died with regrets. McMurtry doesn't say which is better. He says both cost you everything. Fathers and sons. Call's refusal to claim Newt is the engine of Newt's entire life. Newt becomes a good man despite Call, not because of him. The novel asks, what do we owe our children? Call thinks money and a ranch are enough. The book says they aren't. Friendship. Gus and Call are the great friendship in American literature. They disagree on everything, insult each other daily, and would die for each other. When Gus dies, Call loses the only person who understood him. Ext style and legacy. McMurtry writes in a flat, unadorned style. No romanticism. Landscapes are described in terms of how hard they are to cross. Deaths are a sentence long. The humor is constant, usually from Gus, and it's the only thing that makes the horror bearable. Lonesome Dove won the Pulitzer because it took pulp genre material and made it into tragedy. It's the Iliad with cattle. It spawned 3 prequels, sequels, but none match it. The 1989 TV miniseries with Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones is faithful and legendary.